Ni hao, konnichiwa, shalom, ciao, bonjour, namaste, ciao.
Bienvenidos! Hey, my name is Jedley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are beaming out to you in the entire universe from the beautiful, historical, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. You know, Reading with Your Kids, it's all about connection. Connecting kids with books, families with each other, and communities through the power of story. Every episode, we're joined by incredible authors and creators whose work is lighting up kids' lives. Hey, we hope you would help us light up our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Two wonderful guests for you today. Kelly Tooman returns to the show to celebrate the Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure. And later in the show, Ted Sutton joins us to celebrate Greenback's Book of Law, everything you need to know as told by a friendly dog. Hey, if you're the author of a fantastic children's book, we want you to join the mission. You know, for nearly 10 years here on Reading with Your Kids, I've had the privilege of interviewing hundreds, if not thousands, of children's authors. I've learned something important. The world doesn't have a shortage of wonderful children's books. The world has a shortage of people hearing about those wonderful children's books. That's why we created the Certified Great Read program. Of course, we're proud to recognize outstanding books, but recognition is not really the point. Connection is. Every Certified Great Read is part of a much bigger mission, helping books find readers, helping parents discover stories they'll treasure, helping teachers fill their classrooms with books that inspire curiosity, helping librarians, booksellers, grandparents, and caregivers discover titles they'll be excited to recommend. When your book becomes a Certified Great Read, you're not simply receiving recognition. You're joining a community committed to celebrating reading. You'll receive reviews, promotional materials, videos, graphics, podcast exposure, press coverage, and our signature 30-day celebration adventure, all designed to keep your book in front of readers long after launch day. Because here at Reading with Your Kids, we believe something very simple. Reading becomes powerful when it's celebrated, shared, and connected to real people. That mission speaks to you. We'd love to hear from you. Please visit readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page and scroll on down to Certified Great Read. Let's help more families grow closer through reading and help more kids fall in love with your book. Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration? Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com. Promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Ohio. Our guest is returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate her new picture book. It's called The Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure. Please welcome back to the show, Kelly Tooman. Kelly, how are you?
Oh, love to be here again. So great to be with you, Judd.
Yeah, Kelly was with us way back when we were just a baby podcast. It was before the pandemic and before the other 4 million podcasts came into the world.
Right. Yeah.
It was, you know, when you were on the show, there were probably less than 1 million podcasts out in the world. And then the pandemic happened, and everybody decided they need to do one, including all the Hollywood folks. And we're still here, and we're delighted that you're back on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here as well. It's such an important podcast. It really is.
Thank you. We like to think so. Reading with our kids, and we're definitely going to be talking about the Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure. There's so many benefits that we've talked about over the years, but the reason I launched the podcast is because I know how much I got out of reading with my kids. Yes, my kids got a lot out of it. There are all sorts of benefits, but the bottom line, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and my kids loved it, and like I said, the benefits are tremendous. So please, I figure if you're listening to the show, you're reading with your kids every night. But if you're not, and if you have friends who aren't, please encourage them. Read every single day. And one of the great books you can read with your kids is The Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure. Tell everybody why this would be such a great book to read with your kids, Kelly.
Well, I want to start off just jumping onto what you just said about why it's so important to read with your children. And that is the majority of my career was spent in Montessori schools. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I worked up to being a creative writing specialist. But hands down, as a writing teacher, and I still do virtual creative writing workshops, hands down, I always knew children who were raised on books because writing was effortless for them. Their creativity was out the roof. And I would ask them every time, what do you like to read? And the list would go on and on and on and on. And it always made me sad. In Montessori, I spent a lot of time with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And it was about at 5th grade when I would see students get their cell phones. And I was so afraid that it would take away that love of books. And even when I was a preschool teacher in Montessori, my in-class library was stacked with books. We have to get children holding books, loving books, and I can't stress enough that they need to hold them. It's not enough to see them through a screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To jump to answer your question, why our book? Well, lots of reasons. We're a mother and daughter writer and illustrator team. My mom is a former American Greetings artist. Every picture in this book was hand painted. It's a book that took a tremendous amount of years and time and love in it. The Birthday Triplets, this is their second book, and their names are Cookie, Candy, and Coco. They live with their magical Granny Rosie, who has an adventure factory. And each morning, the triplets fly on Granny's magical cloud to the factory. And inside, just one adventure, just one, somebody is having a birthday. But it's not just that they're having a birthday, it's that there's something about their birthday that's making them sad, or they're feeling alone. And so the triplets intuitively know which one to go dance into. They're dancers, but they don't know who the mystery person is until the end. So in this particular story, they're very surprised by by the mystery person because, well, I can't say anymore. That'll give it away. But, you know, our goal as a team is to create highly, highly imaginative stories that draw children in. And that have really gentle life lessons in them. And this one is a huge lesson about forgiveness, especially when it's really hard because Candy Birthday is highly competitive. She's one of the triplets, and she meets Meanie Max, who basically says to her that she won't win the race. He says, you win the race? Is that what you think? A girl dressed in pink? I mean, he really gives her a hard time. He does everything he can to ruin the race for everyone else. And at the end, she has to make a really hard decision because she's finally in the lead and he's calling for help.
That's a really difficult lesson for kids to learn, that when we forgive others, we're actually healing. That's part of our healing. Yeah. And that's a tough thing for adults to understand.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about, just how might we approach that with our kids, letting them know that, hey, yeah, I know you're angry and that person hurt you, but boy, if you can find it in your heart to forgive them, it's going to help you.
It's challenging. And I have to say that from teaching. It is. But children are capable of amazing, beautiful things. And there are a lot of reviews on Amazon. Our parents have commented that the book has given them an opportunity to have that conversation about, what do we do? What would you do? Would you have let him, he's stuck in a tree and he's crying and he's really upset and everybody's riding by and they're saying, go, Candy, go. You're almost there. Like, why would you stop? Why do you care? He was so mean to us. And Candy says, deep in her heart, I know what to do. When someone is mean, I don't have to be too. Mm-hmm. And that's the line that just moves me the most. I think it's just a great opportunity for conversation. And, Candy I'm giving away a lot of the book, but Candy does say to him, because he's shocked that she stops to help him. He says, why did you stop? You could have won. And she says, hearing you cry up in the tree, how would I feel if that happened to me? So we're also encouraging children to be empathetic. And even the fact that they're going in to give a birthday party is an act of kindness as well, because they know it's somebody who's hurting and sad. And every birthday party at the end is geared just for that person, and they're magical.
Yeah, yeah. Where did the idea for the triplets come from?
That's such a great question. So it's interesting. And on our website, our business website, Pink Party Dress Productions, we have a whole series of blogs that my mom and I wrote some time ago that talk about the evolution of these girls. And they actually started as characters first, and they actually had blonde hair to begin with. And they went through all kinds of evolutions, including people mentoring us saying, well, maybe you should make their, hair bows vegetables instead of candy cooking Coco. And I'm like, I don't think children will really like that. Mm-hmm. But they started off as characters, and then with all of my background in teaching, we created the personalities of each of the triplets. For example, Cookie Birthday is really into rescuing animals, and she loves anything that's hurting. And she loves to help. And she has a really key point in this book where she helps a lost baby foal, and that story comes back to help them at the end. And I can't say how. Candy is strong and spirited and loyal and competitive and fiery. And Coco is extremely perfect, note taker, insatiable curiosity also that gets her in trouble. So they're kind of a mix of myself, my mom, people I know, and just spirited young girls.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you taught in the Montessori system for many years. Can you tell the folks who might not be familiar with what those schools are all about?
They are gold. I cannot stress enough how Montessori children turn out. And a Montessori approach is a multi-age approach. So 3, 4, and 5-year-olds are grouped together, first, second, and third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. It's based on a child's innate sense of curiosity. It fosters independence. I can't speak enough to it of how much children love learning. It's the best foundation if you get the right school, because they're empowered. They're empowered to follow their passions. They're empowered to work at their own pace. It's freedom with discipline. It's like somebody came in and said, oh, did they just kind of run around? No, they don't. But it's really amazing that you can have a classroom of 27 children doing 27 different things, and the teacher can kind of stand back. I worked with the older children and was just so impressed. They were doing philanthropy. They were running bake sales. They had committees. Like, these kids believe that they can move the world, and they're happy. Mm-hmm. I can't stress that enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now you mentioned that the kids are grouped, the youngest kids, mm-hmm. Are they still allowed to play in kindergarten? Because we have a lot of public school kindergarten teachers on, and that ain't happening anymore in public schools.
I don't know what they're doing to children. I find it to be tragic, to be honest, in terms of children need to play. They need to, I'm making a general statement about children. They need to be imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, more than ever, our books are highly imaginative. There's a magical map, in the beginning that's a 2-page spread. My concern, just as an educator and a creative writing teacher, is that we're taking away children's ability to imagine and to have quiet, right? Because every child you see, I mean, I see it all the time, Jed, maybe you do as well, but these young children have phones in front of them, babies, toddlers, just to keep them quiet. But what's going to happen to imagination, right? What's going to happen if children don't learn to have downtime and quiet and let them be bored, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think imagination we need to nurture that as much as we can. And so much of that comes with play, unstructured playtime. I find that children now more than ever are so heavily scheduled.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been a trend. I know I ran an after-school program in a suburb of Boston back in the 1990. I did it for a couple of years. And the kids would come in from, a day at school, and they'd be right into a structured activity in our after school, and it'd go for an hour, and then they go to another structured activity, and just structure, just adults over them telling what to do. And I came up with, I thought it was a logical, I said, how about this? Kids get here, and for the next 45 minutes, they get to do whatever they want. They get to play. They can run around. We got this great big park outside. They can run around the park. They can do coloring, whatever. And, oh, boy, the nonsense I would hear from my supervisors. Oh, you're just so lazy. You don't want to do da. I'm like, all right, am I in charge? Okay, we're going to do it anyway. You can think I'm lazy. I don't care. And,
oh my gosh.
And it was great. I mean, the few conflicts. The kids, when they were having conflicts, they were figuring it out on their own. They didn't need to come running up. So we need to let kids be kids.
We need to let kids be kids. And I hear this constantly also about all the pressure there is. And that's one thing about Montessori is that the materials are so brilliant in the terms of that reading is a natural progression that kind of happens effortlessly when you start them at 3 and move them through. I mean, it's not, I hear so many families, I'm in admissions now, and I hear so many families saying that, we have to gear them up for first grade. They're talking about other schools and the pressure of first grade, the pressure of kindergarten. Like, those statements are frightening.
Yeah.
They're talking about other schools. There should be no pressure in kindergarten or first grade.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah. And this is, if somebody's just kind of listening to the podcast for the first time, this isn't just a experienced teacher and a dopey clown doing a podcast talking. This is that we just had Andre Schlesler on, who is a global education expert. And he agrees we're schoolifying kids way too early. And in places like Estonia, where kids aren't expected to be in rows in a classroom until they're 7 or 8 years old, and they're doing much, much better.
They are. Of course they are. And I've seen also, Jed, it's really interesting in my career. I've seen how children's attention spans are changing also, and not for the best. Particularly when I was teaching 4th, 5th, and 6th grades. And I'm talking, as short as 3-4 years ago. I could see them listening to me and looking at me, but I know they were absolutely not listening to anything I'm saying. Right. And I've noticed a change in focus. And I think that's also just because we have kids on screens. It's definitely, we could go into 10 podcasts about screens, but it's changing their brains and their ability to stay focused. And if we want to, go back to books in terms of what you asked me at the beginning. Yeah, we need to hold a book in our hand. We need to read a book and and plot through it. And it's just, too many screens, and we're taking away children's ability to imagine.
Yeah. Well, one of the things about the screens, I don't know if the screens are, necessarily the problem. The problem is
It's what's on them.
and I know the young kids, the 3, 4, 5-year-olds who are given a screen to kind of keep them quiet, they're not seeing a still image with the narrator and an image that they can look at, like they can look at a book and like, oh, what color bow is that person reading? And oh, look in the corner, there's like a little mouse in this, and they're looking at images that are changing every 2, 3, 4 seconds.
Right.
And that absolutely, I think it hypnotizes kids.
It does. And and that's why we need books. And I don't think books will ever go away. I don't. In fact, as I mentioned, I'm in admissions now, and every child who comes into our school library just lights up because it's just books everywhere, right? And it's just to foster that love of reading and to also read a book over and over and over again. Books become friends.
Mm-hmm.
They just do. Yep. My mom says that to me. She says, my books are my friends. I said, well, sometimes we can let go of some of these friends when you have like 800 books. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're precious and they're hard to give up. But that was fostered and part of my mom, who's the illustrator, she was raised, she said all we had was, she said we had a field and I had a stick for a horse and I pretended and I ran around. And my mom has a phenomenal imagination, but that was nurtured because her every moment wasn't filled. Yeah.
Well, I know everybody's kind of freaking out about AI, and I use AI. I think it's incredible. However, I think we absolutely need to change the way we're teaching our kids. There's not a need for a kid to memorize a giant list of facts. What we need to help kids do is become curious about those facts.
Yes.
Okay, AI's telling me what happened back in whenever. So what does that mean? Well, I have to use my curiosity to figure out what does that mean? What did it mean for those people? What does it mean for me and ongoing? And I think that's what we need to direct our schools to become curiosity factories.
And that's Montessori. I mean, that's so beautiful. I always share a story that there was a child, he was a first or second grader, and someone had a charm bracelet and the Eiffel Tower must have fallen off it, and he found it somewhere on the floor. And he just, for some reason, he was so enthralled with it. He went and did a whole report on the Eiffel Tower. He sculpted it out of clay. He gave a presentation. I mean, we have to respect those child's innate curiosity. Just like you're saying, in terms of AI, I wish I could remember exactly. I heard a really wonderful interview about it. And she was saying that with AI, kids aren't learning to struggle to find information. It's all too easy. Right. Do you know what I mean? Yep. Do you remember, what it was like to think like we can process AI because we went through the tough stuff, but kids are just being fed.
Yep. Yep.
And yes, I remember.
I remember it would be a 1.5 mile walk to the public library. And then go look at those card catalogs.
The card catalogs, right?
Just made me crazy. Then find the book, or worse, you find the card catalog and then you go look for the book and it's not there, and you got to wait for someone to bring it back. And exactly. It was a struggle. It was a struggle.
And to struggle and to do research papers and to really have to dig through information. A good friend of mine is a World War II researcher, and he's written several books. And I said, this is a dying art. Like, you got to inspire that next generation to be interested in research. But I'm with you about, there's pros and cons with everything. But I will say, you were asking about Montessori. That's why so many Montessori kids come out later becoming entrepreneurs, because it's a system that nurtures their curiosity and respects their passions.
Yeah. I'm very curious. You mentioned at the top of the show that all the illustrations and the Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure are all original hand-painted works of art. What does your mom do with them after they're printed and become a part of the book? Did she have a house full of the birthday?
Yes, they're beautiful. And my mom is the most humble person in the world, but she's incredibly gifted. Her art is rare. It's nostalgic. And and people are responding to it in terms of we have, followers that are men, that are women, that are people of the kind of the strawberry shortcake generation. I think the appeal that we're finding just in the triplets alone is they touch the heart and spirit in a certain way. Their innocence in terms of their looks, and just that they're hand painted, and it's a labor of love. And this is their second book. Their first book is called The Birthday Triplets, and that's when they meet magical inventor Granny Rosie, who actually was very sad on her birthday and created a birthday adventure for herself, and everything went wrong, and the girls came into her life. So we're also really excited. We're launching on August 3rd, the Birthday Triplets Magnificent, Marvelous, Magical Mail Club. And going back to like the old days, like kids get mail from the triplets. There's a fun newsletter, different surprises and treats, bookmarks, stickers. And then also in one envelope, there's a magical key to Granny Rosie's magic factory. And if that particular person has the key, they win a very big amount of prizes. So it's just nice. Like, I remember as a kid, like, I was so excited to get something in the mail or to join a club. Like, I lived for it.
Yeah.
In the mailbox.
Yeah. Well, I remember in fourth grade when my son was in fourth grade, they were doing kind of like a civics thing, and the kids were encouraged to learn about government. And I suggested that my son, our local state rep and city councilor and everything, and he really got into it, and he wrote to the president.
Oh, I love that.
And he got a letter back that I'm sure was written by an intern or whatnot, and it was signed and everything. But the thing that impressed my son the most, he held up a big manila envelope, and it had first class stamped on it.
You
said this first class. It was.
Isn't that great though?
It was wonderful. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, it's not important the president sent it, but it's first class.
Okay, but and that's just the whole other thing too. And talking about children these days is that children are not accustomed to waiting anymore, right? So this club, it only comes out 4 times a year. But everything, I was just thinking the other day, like if you're on Netflix, sometimes I'm overwhelmed. Like there's so many choices everywhere.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And when I was a kid, there were 6 television shows, right? On Saturday morning or whatever you watch. Like there's amazing children's programming right now. But I think children are also overwhelmed with so many choices, and everything's instant.
Yeah.
And that I noticed that as an educator, teaching children to be patient and to wait their turn. That's changed.
That's changed, yeah. Well, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure and see all those beautiful paintings.
Thank you. So our website is thebirthdaytriplets.com, and from there you can join the mail club that I just mentioned. Our books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much all of the online websites. You can also ask your local library if they would order a copy of the books, because they are available through Ingram as well. That's for bookstores and libraries. And as far as me, my website is kellytooman.com. I also offer virtual creative writing workshops for kids and teens. And I also go into schools and do workshops, creative writing, and also just behind the scenes of the making of a picture book. And students are shocked how every hand goes up when I said, is writing a children's book easy? Yeah. You have a couple of words that rhyme and you put some pictures on. It's not. And I think they're pretty amazed at what goes behind it.
Absolutely. We've had a really fun time speaking to the author of The Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure. Our guest has been Kelly Tooman. Hey, Kelly, thanks so much. Oh, one more thing you need to say?
I forgot to tell you, the Birthday Triplets are also on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Awesome. Check it out today. Hey, Kelly, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. It was just wonderful.
Hey, my friends, I want to tell you about a coffee company I recently discovered that really lines up with the values we talk about right here at Reading with Your Kids. It's called Afrera Coffee Company, and they're doing things the right way. The coffee is sourced directly from certified Rainforest Alliance farms in Central and South America, with a big focus on farms in El Salvador. I love El Salvador. They work directly with local farmers, support sustainable farming practices, and even use recyclable and combustible packaging. Now, all of that would already make me feel good about supporting them, but honestly, the coffee itself, it's fantastic. You can really taste the quality. The beans are grown in rich volcanic soil and carefully roasted, so the flavor really comes through smooth, rich, and super aromatic. Now, whether you're somebody who loves a strong espresso to get moving in the morning, or you prefer a lighter roast while reading a good book, Afrera has something you're going to enjoy. And this is kind of beautiful. 5% of all their sales goes to charities helping conserve and preserve the great outdoors. So if you'd like to try coffee that tastes amazing and supports good people doing good work, head on over to afreracoffee.com. That's A-F-U-E-R-A coffee.com, and use the promo code READ to get an exclusive 15% off your order. And of course, when you use the code, you're also helping support the podcast. Great coffee and helping families grow closer together. I call that a pretty magical way to start your day. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is sponsored by Ramble Office. You know, before I tell you about Ramble Office, let me tell you about what travel used to look like for me. When I take the Reading with Your Kids studio on the road, it was like a lot. I had one box for the mixer, another case for microphones, a satchel for my laptop, cables everywhere. And I always felt like I was forgetting something. That's why Ramble Office really clicked with me. Rambo takes everything I used to juggle, tech gear, personal stuff, and puts it into one smart, great-looking unit that's designed to be a mobile office, not just luggage. Everything has a place. Everything stays protected. And when you get to where you're going, you're ready to work. Instead of digging through bags or repacking your life every time you move, Ramble keeps your setup organized and ready to deploy. Travel days stop being chaos and start being productive. It's sleek, modern, built for people whose work doesn't stop just because they're on the move. And if your job follows you, whether that's podcasting, teaching, consulting, or creating, Ramble is worth a look. Go to RambleOfficeAnywhere.com, all one word, RambleOfficeAnywhere.com. Use the promo code READ, R-E-A-D, and receive 5% off any product. It's exclusive for Reading with Your Kids listeners. Check it out today, RambleOfficeAnywhere.com, promo code READ. Joining us right now from the wonderful state of Nevada, our guest is here today to celebrate his new middle grade novel. It's called Greenback's Book of Law, Everything You Need to Know as Told by a Friendly Dog. Please welcome to the show, Ted Sutton. Hey, Ted, how are you?
Jed, I'm doing well, and it's great to be here.
So happy to have you here. Tell us about Greenback. Who is this friendly dog?
That's right. So it's Greenback the Golden Doodle is the main character. And so the concept of Greenback came from my dad, Garrett Sutton. He wanted to make a show to teach kids about financial concepts, and he wanted it to be by a dog named Greenback. And then I had the idea of sort of in the same universe educating people on the law as well, just because the law is not a topic that's taught in schools, but it certainly should be. Mm-hmm. And the Golden Doodle came from my best friend and his dog, who's a Golden Doodle. And so that's kind of how that came together. And then also, like I mentioned, they don't teach the law in schools. And when I started writing the book, I had just graduated law school and passed 2 bar exams. And I noticed that a lot of the information I learned was really helpful, but it was not available to the general public. Uh-huh. And so instead of having a boring attorney who's going to overcharge you their hourly rate and make everything super complex, I'd rather have a friendly dog teach you the law and teach you everything that I learned in law school. So Greenback came from my dad, the Golden Doodle came from my best friend, and then the idea of educating people about the law was just my experience of learning the law and understanding that a lot of people don't know it, and they certainly should.
Well, I agree with you. It's funny doing this podcast. I'm starting to think that schools are teaching kids everything except what they really need to know. When kids in kindergarten is not kindergarten anymore. They're putting kids in and expecting them to sit down and just do work all day long. They're not allowed to play. We don't teach kids financial literacy, and that's why we have so many kids coming out of college with outrageous debt. We don't teach kids media literacy, which is why so many of them are getting harmed by social media. And if you see that the kind of stuff that comes up on my timeline on social media, people absolutely have no idea about the law. It's crazy.
I know, and it's really unfortunate because people are expected to know it as adults, yet they're not taught it in school. And that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And, it's the same with financial literacy, too. So my father, Garrett Sutton, is associated with Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Company. And so he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It sold 30 million copies. It talks about personal finance matters. Yet they tried to get it into schools, and there's just so many hoops you need to jump through to change the curriculum that it was just impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you talked about media literacy and all these other types of things that they don't teach in school. And so hopefully at some point that the tides will turn and they start teaching things that matter. So yeah. I'm totally with you there. The law is not one of them, and it certainly should be.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that Greenback is going to teach our kids?
Right. So the whole story of the book is that it follows a guy named James who kind of goes through a lot as a kid. And Greenback's owner is Ernie the attorney. And Greenback sits in a dog bed next to Ernie's desk every day. And so because he's around Ernie all the time, he teaches the law. He learns the law and he teaches it to the kids. And then James is a character who kind of went through a lot, and then he moves in with the family. And throughout the last 2 years, it's during his final 2 years of high school. Mm-hmm. And throughout his 2 years, he's exposed to different areas of the law. This covers things like contracts, torts, property law, but it also covers the Constitution, voting, and civics as well. A bunch of, amongst other topics. So you're learning everything that I learned in my first year of law school, with a few other things as well. And obviously voting and civics is in there too, because a lot of people don't really understand how our government works. And again, there's no comprehensive resource that's available to people to teach all these things in one place, which is why I ended up writing this book.
Yeah. We're all about encouraging families to read with their kids, obviously read with their little ones curled up on the couch. But we think it's important to continue to read with our kids when they become independent readers, when they're reading middle grade novels, when they're reading YA, and have conversations about what they're reading. And I'm imagining if a family is reading this book with their kids, there may be a lot of things the parents will learn that will surprise them.
Exactly. And that's the feedback that I've received too, is that I had maybe 50 kids read the book before it was published, and I gave it to their parents too. And their parents read it, and they said that they learned things as well, just because they weren't ever taught how the legal system works and how it applies to them. And so if you think of it, if there's any book out there that parents can read with their kids and learn things from it, it's this one right here. Just because, again, people get blindsided by legal problems and they don't have the foundational knowledge to tackle them. So it's a great book. Obviously, I'm going to say that because I wrote it and I'm on this podcast. But it's a great book for both parents and kids to read together because both of them can learn things that they can use in their everyday lives.
Tell me, when you gave the book to that focus group of kids and parents, what was the thing that the majority of folks were really surprised about?
Well, I think they were surprised about how all this stuff affects them, but it isn't taught to them. I think some of the things that really stuck out was the contract section, just because when you're an adult, you're going to sign an employment contract, you're going to provide services to people, and it's best to just have it in writing. And I think there's a lot of people who just have a simple handshake deal, and then they hold up their end of the bargain, and then the other person doesn't pay them. And it's harder to prove that in court when it's oral. And so I think a lot of them really got the message that when you enter into contracts with people, it's best to put it in writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably best to consult an attorney to make sure you're writing up the contract correctly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So don't just go to ChatGPT, talk to a professional, and they can do a better job helping you with it.
Yeah. As an attorney, I'm imagining your days are pretty busy. Where did you find the time to write this book?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have a schedule to where I block out time on Fridays. So my calendar is available Monday through Thursday to where I can handle calls and work on agreements for clients. And I work for Corporate Direct, and I do a lot of content creation to educate people on business law. So what I usually did was I blocked out Friday just to get all the writing done. And then I also would find time during the day to start writing things. And that took probably a few months to get the first draft down. And then over time, I just gave drafts of the book to people, and they gave me feedback, which helped me improve it. So I think the biggest thing is, if you're an aspiring author out there, I think time blocking is a really good method that you can use to write a book.
Yeah. Earlier this week, I had an interview with Janie Nitza. She wrote a book with Justice Neil Gorsuch about the Constitution. And we also talked about the fact that civics aren't taught to kids in school anymore. Why do you think that might be?
I honestly don't know. I think a lot of it might have to do just with the bureaucrats and the curriculum changes. They taught it when my dad was in school, but I'm not sure the reason why they strayed away from it. But again, civics is very important because it's important to understand how the government works and how you can affect change. Yeah. And the way you can affect change is by voting and, understanding who you vote for, what responsibilities they have, both, at the federal level, the state level, and the local level too. Yeah. And I think it's a problem because people see things on social media, whether it's on the left or the right or wherever, and they get angry about things. But, they do a good job of addressing a problem, but they don't talk about how you solve it. The way you solve it is you vote people in to affect the change you want. Yeah. And, understanding civics and voting and the Constitution is absolutely critical, and they should teach it in schools.
One of the things that Janie and I talked about was that there was some kind of poll or survey done that discovered that the majority of folks, American citizens, could not pass a citizenship test.
I know. Well, very few of them can name all three branches of government. Legislative, executive, judicial. And a lot of them don't understand how they all sort of tie together and, how each of them serve a different purpose. And I think just having a basic understanding of it, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a legal scholar, but just having a foundational, simple understanding of these things can really go a long way.
Yeah, I saw a video not too long ago of an elected official being asked that question and unable to answer it. And yeah. I'm like, this has to be AI, but it wasn't.
Right. But again, I think that sort of goes back to the point that people get angry about things, and perhaps this elected official was angry and that sort of motivated them to run for office. But again, I think understanding how to solve these problems is key, and the way to do that is to understand civics and how everything works.
Yeah. If someone were to ask you to explain what you mean by the term civics, what would you say?
I would say it's the legal rights and responsibilities that people have as adults. But I think as a subset of that, it's your responsibility to understand how our system works and how to participate in it by voting.
Yeah.
So I think civics is kind of used interchangeably with the government and voting. But, again, it's your responsibility to go out and vote and do your civic duty and make the changes in the government that you want to see.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're using the word responsibility. I think we do all have a responsibility to make this a better country. It's a beautiful country. There's so many great things about it, but it's not perfect. And we can make it better, but we can't make it better if we're just sitting at home yelling at the TV.
Right. Or posting on X or something like that.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, going into the law, that's a huge commitment and resources. What was it that motivated you to make that commitment?
Yeah. So when I studied at the University of Utah, I actually got my degree in mining engineering. And the summer before I graduated, I worked at a mine in the Atacama Desert in northern Chile. And I had an amazing experience. I really liked all the workers. I liked the experience. But I lived in a remote desert for 3 months, and it made me realize that this might not be the best career fit for me. So as much as I love being at the mine and connecting with all the people from northern Chile, it's kind of interesting because I'm this big 6'1" gringo white guy, and a lot of them are native Chileans who are much shorter than I am, and I think that this is probably one of the first times they've ever seen an American. So that was really cool. But, in my heart of hearts, I knew that probably was not the best career path for me. So after I graduated, my parents talked to me. My dad's a lawyer. He has a business where we set up LLCs for people all across the country. And, he's associated with Robert Kiyosaki. And he ultimately said, it might be best for you just to pivot and go to law school. And I ended up doing that, and I have not looked back since. That's ultimately what did it, is I realized what I didn't want to do, and then that opened up a door to a career in law. And, I just hit the ground running, and I've enjoyed it over the last 8 years or so.
That's fantastic. I imagine writing a kid's book must have been a lot more fun than writing the contracts and legal brief that you're normally working on.
Yeah, I think they're both fun and they're both challenging in their own way. So I think with drafting a typical contract, you have a template you can use and then you just make changes to it. But, it's not as, I wouldn't say it's as meaningful. I think writing this book has been extremely meaningful to me just because it fills a void in society. And I want kids and young adults to read it and use this as a resource to help them in their everyday lives. So that's been good. I think the overall sort of spiritual purpose there is far more profound with this book than being a lawyer. But at the same time, it was challenging too because, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I was in my late 20s when I started writing the book. So I needed to get feedback from people who are age 12 to 18. And I needed to make a lot of revisions, and I got a lot of feedback from kids and my dad and all these people. And then the book needed to be illustrated too. So I think sort of the time and effort there was very challenging. But I think overall writing the book has been more fun than being a lawyer.
Yeah. I'm one of the things I love to ask authors is what kind of conversations do you think families could have as they're reading Greenback's Book of Laws together?
Yeah, well, I think they can talk when they read each chapter. There's quizzes at the end of each chapter. And I think what they can do is they could see how the chapter applies to their everyday life. So, there's a chapter on family law. We talk about marriage, divorce, alimony, all those things. I think with parents being married, a lot of people are divorced. I think that is very applicable to a lot of family situations. Mm-hmm. So I think what they do is they just read each chapter, and maybe they talk about how whatever's covered in the chapter affects their everyday lives. And, how they can use that understanding to help them in certain situations.
Yeah. Any thoughts about sitting down and creating that Greenback's book of financial literacy that your dad thought about?
Yeah, well, I think that's sort of out there. I think my time and efforts right now are going to be to promoting this book right here. Uh-huh. So I think potentially it could be on the horizon, but right now, I'm just going to focus on promoting this book.
Great. Well, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Greenback's Book of Law, everything you need to know as told by a friendly dog, and find out more about you.
Right. So you can go to greenbacksbookoflaw.com to purchase your copy. It will also be available on Amazon as well. So you can go to one of those two places. And then for more about me, if you just type in Ted Sutton Esquire, you'll find the corporate direct page, which is our company where we set up LLCs for people. I also have a few Instagram accounts where I educate people on business law. And then also Greenback's Book of Law has an Instagram page too. So if you type in Greenback's BOL on Instagram, you can find me there as well.
Super. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Greenback's Book of Law, Everything You Need to Know as Told by a Friendly Dog. Great middle grade novel from our guest, Ted Sutton. Hey, Ted, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jed.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. Leave a 5-star review and, of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. We'd love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, @JedleyMagic on X, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And, of course, our website is readingwithyourkids.com. It's a great place to go if you are the author of a great children's book. Go to readingwithyourkids.com and click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlit fans all over the world about your fantastic children's books. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Kelly Tooman. Please be sure to check out the Birthday Triplets and the Pony Race Adventure. Also want to thank Ted Sutton. Please be sure to check out Greenback's Book of Law, Everything You Need to Know as Told by a Friendly Dog. I want to thank my team, Daylene Rose, Advina Lopez, Chris Doherty. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support and love she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better, more caring, more empathetic place, and give your kids a boost in life that will last them forever. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Hey kids, are you ready? Ready to read? Ready to dream? Let's go! A robot, a mystery. Every chapter is a brand new ride. With a passport stamped inside your mind. So grab a book, let the fun begin. Every reader is a champion. Reading for fun. Raise your voice and shout it loud. Reading for fun. Be a dreamer, brave and proud. Stories take you anywhere, from mountains high to underwater. adventure